breaking it down in layman's terms, talking all things virtual selling video for better sales conversations. Now, in this episode, we're going to continue the conversation on home studios, virtual meetings, and leveraging equipment to up your performance for better sales conversations. Now, in our previous episode, we spoke with Garren Parkins over at Deskrig. And guess what? We're speaking to another guy over at Deskrig, and his name is Garren as well. It's Garren Parkins. Now, Garren is the founder of Deskrig, and we'll get into how he created his company, his views on virtual selling, video studios, and a whole lot more. But before we bring Garren out for our interview, I want to send it back to our virtual co-host, Virtual Vonda. V, I know you've got something to say.
Thanks, Doug. We are living in a virtual business world. Virtual selling and video marketing are on the rise. Communicating socially online is fine, but there might be an opportunity to collaborate further. By building on your social proof visually. In layman's terms, creating visual story selling content. Thanks again for connecting and social watching. Vonda V is out.
Thanks, Vonda, and thanks, Vonda, for keeping me on point. As I said earlier, we did an interview with Garren a few days ago, and I'd like to share that interview in its entirety. After the interview, we'll wrap up this episode. So here's the footage of the interview I did with Garren Parkins, the founder of Deskrig. Breaking it down in layman's terms, today I've got a special guest. I've got Garren Parkins, the founder of a company called Deskrig. Now, Garren's all the way virtually from Kingsport, Tennessee, and he's got a dynamic company and an extensive background in sales. But he's taking those virtual meetings, those video sales calls and presentations to a whole nother level. Garren, welcome in layman's terms.
Thanks, Doug. Pleasure to be here.
Well, it's an honor to get an opportunity to interview you. I know we've followed each other on LinkedIn. I've also followed the other Garren over at Deskrig, and we did an interview. Now it's time to talk to the founder of the company. So let's talk a little bit. Give me like an elevator high-end view of what Deskrig is all about.
Yeah, Deskrig is a virtual presence company. We're focused on delivering powerful yet practical solutions to the virtual workforce of the future. And what that really means is we used to commute to work in a car. Now we're all commuting to work, or a lot of us are commuting to work via our desks. So you need a purpose-built virtual vehicle to get you from A to B, and then be able to obviously leverage that tool for your success in a virtual world. So as the medium in which we communicate changes, we're trying to stay in front of that with innovation.
One of the things I've heard you say, now you're in Tennessee, you're in a somewhat of a rural area,
Yep.
but having virtual meetings now, it brings the level of communication on a global perspective. How did you make the pivot to this virtual platform, the company? I mean, I know the answer to, we had COVID, we had different other things that made us more remote, but what really made you go like all in, hard in the paint on, well, Deskrig and virtual calls?
So back in 2017, I was working for a B2B e-commerce company, a software organization that was a startup, and we would find ourselves in the middle of RFPs, these requests for proposal processes with these large corporate enterprises looking to do a digital transformation on their e-commerce infrastructure. Now, I found myself competing against SAP Hybris and Magento and Shopify and all of these Goliaths of the e-commerce industry. And I knew that after going through a few rounds of these RFPs where I would go into the call, "Hi, I'm Garren with Virto Commerce," and they'd say, "Who?" Mm-hmm. And I felt that I was climbing a credibility ladder on every call. And what I realized ultimately is that $1 million company wants to buy from another $1 million company. So when you show up in a video call, in a virtual communication experience, and especially when it's your first impression, you're able to leave with these gatekeepers to these projects, potential projects. It's really important to show up and impress them, because that's what's going to get you through that gate as a startup company specifically. So I started showing up on my sales calls, my proposal calls, looking like this, and immediately saw a change in my success rate. So we went from not winning very many deals to feeling like we were always at the top of the list, being respected more than the other vendors who had many more customers, much more revenue, and much more brand presence as well. So it showed that first impressions matter, perception matters, and it still matters in a virtual world as much as it did in the in-person world that we're all used to working in. So once I saw the success of this happen, coronavirus came along, and luck is when opportunity meets success, right? So I was lucky in the way that I had positioned myself with a tool prior to the need of the masses needing virtual presence tools. And, I saw the opportunity and thought that I would be remiss to not chase it down. So that's how I got started with Deskrig.
Well, it's a great story because you made the pivot for changes, but I want to re-emphasize what Garren was saying. The fact that he's taking the presentations, and as you can see, and you'll see more here on this interview, at a level that gets attention. And I've heard you in other interviews say when you first showed up with the webcam, everything, you're like everybody else. But once you came with the look, the professionalism, there's something that grabbed attention to him. It opened up a lot of doors. It actually opened up doors for you to create a business and a company because
Right.
This is a need for that. I mean, you made the adjustment, but perception's everything, but style, look, and substance to that. I mean, we're getting tired of being average out there. One
100%.
thing I like about what I've also heard you say in previous interviews, you're in a rural area, so you can virtual calls, remote selling. This is just expand your reach. But now you're in the door with people. Now it's a question of, hey, I got you on the call. How do I look? How do I present? How do I get your attention?
That's a really good point, talking about the kind of the metro versus rural lifestyle and work opportunities as a whole. And this is a very large conversation. We're experiencing climate change, whether you believe in it or not. The world is changing, and we're seeing that the cost of living in metropolitan areas is outpacing the earning potential in those areas. And so we have all of these amazing rural communities all over the country. There's so much green for folks to be able to have a higher quality of life by moving to lower cost of living areas, being able to maintain the employment that they had in that city via a virtual world, and then be able to show up as, if not more professional than they did prior to moving to that virtual space. And so, I see virtual presence and virtual work as a boon to the middle class, because we don't all have to pile into metropolitan areas where the offices, the home office is at. And, we've all got to be in this rat race. We can actually disperse in the space that we have, giving everybody a little more room. Obviously, reducing the cost of living in those rural areas and being able to keep that same income would ultimately improve your quality of life. And it gives people who live in rural communities the ability to stay in rural communities. I see brain drain every single year. The best and the brightest, they go off to LA or New York or Atlanta to find the job that they ultimately feel like they deserve in terms of their revenue potential, right? Their income. But no longer do you have to do that. But the difference between being able to work virtually and maintain that salary and not is virtual presence, in our opinion.
Well, and I want to add to that. One thing you said a couple of times is, okay, reach and location is one thing. You talked about the word cost. Okay, you're going to invest in a Deskrig setup. I'll let you demo that and some things that you can do. But the cost, okay, devil's advocate. Well, why would I want to invest taking it better than having a generic webcam and a subpar presentation? We're going to invest in the money for a virtual studio or for your teams. The cost that you are eliminating through travel costs. Look, when you go and you meet somebody face to face, you still want to look professional. You still want to look the right vibe for your audience.
Right.
But now you're on camera. There's no reason to set back. But the cost that you would save by not traveling, but having these presentations and then the infrastructure, you can crank out global presentations all day long, which I know you do, and a lot of people are. So the cost, I think it justifies a studio setup. I want you to speak a little bit more on that, and go ahead and run me through some virtual stuff too.
The same person who buys a Lexus, the same person who buys a Tempur-Pedic, is the same person who really should own a Deskrig if they're working from home. These items obviously provide some value, and the cost becomes negligible when you understand the value that is provided through something like a Deskrig. And Deskrigs range anywhere from like $1,500 all the way up to $10,000, and we could take it higher than that, really, even. But to your point, one trip to go visit a customer, take them out to eat, wine and dine them, maybe go out to an event after that, plane tickets, commuting from the airport to the hotel room, you add all that up, you're looking at $1,500, $2,000, $3,000 anyways. Whereas you use that same investment, that same money to build, a work from home studio, a Deskrig of your own in your home office, you're going to be able to, go all over the world. To your point, you're going to be able to create content with no post-production efforts, which is going to increase your reach online and decrease the cost to produce high quality content. Obviously going to raise your stock within your organization as well. So there's a lot of, very tangible and very intangible benefits that come along with investing your money in a Deskrig rather than going out every month to visit this customer or that customer. I'll tell a quick story.
Go ahead.
One of my customers, Scott Nevins, he is a principal advisor for Bernstein. He is a top 10 financial advisor at that organization, which is a global multinational financial institution, investment institution, research company. And he has an office overlooking Central Park. And on our podcast, when he was on my podcast, What Keeps You Awake, he said, I have this fancy office, but I'll never go back to it, because no longer do I need to be in that space to be as effective as possible. He had the best year ever in 2021. And he attributed that success directly to Deskrig in his ability to network at a higher velocity, maintain his professional efficacy level, and be able to, communicate more effectively virtually.
Well, let's talk about that, because you like got an ace player as a presenter in that story you just shared with us. So companies can invest in we got Joe or Carol, and they are dynamite at presenting. There are our senior level account executive, whatever title you want. They are the presenter. They go out, jump on planes, and do this. Now investing in them within your company organization, having them do the presentations virtually in lieu of traveling when it's not feasible, okay, they're now face-to-face. There's something about that. But if you have a Deskrig, a virtual studio set up, we'll show me a few things in a second here, because we keep teasing it a little bit. But, that's powerful. That's a definite cost benefit for that.
Absolutely.
Not everybody needs a home studio. I'd like to think people can set it up. But if a company wants to invest in the dollars, have a dedicated virtual presenter.
Well, I think that there is a big differentiation that we don't talk about a lot. The difference between a home studio and a Deskrig, those are two completely different things. Not everybody needs a home studio. If you work from home, you need a Deskrig, definitively. Just like you needed a car to drive to work, you need a virtual vehicle to get you to work effectively. And look, I did it myself, hunched over a laptop on the kitchen table. How many of you out there do that? Right? That's bad posture. You have one screen to work off of. If you have two documents that you're looking to review at the same, there's just so many benefits that come to a architected, purpose-built solution that is different than a studio. A studio is an implication that it's an entire room of equipment, soundboards, studio lights, studio camera, teleprompters, like some of these more higher end virtual presence things are rather production equipment. Whereas a Deskrig, it is a studio in a box. So it still provides some studio capabilities, but it's not quite a home studio. So I want to make sure that we kind of split those two things, because I do believe everybody needs a Deskrig at home. We have 9 models out of the box that range from, add a rig where it's just one monitor and some of the standalone equipment you need, all the way up to, a full home office makeover type thing. And so really there's price points for everyone to be able to get this equipment, but it's a systems integration. ultimately that we're providing to these people. It is a holistic. It is an output of high quality virtual experiences that you're able to provide in your virtual role. It's not necessarily a studio. So I want to make that clear.
Okay, and I get that. So there's a Deskrig or there's a studio set up for everybody, and I just think that there's, like you said, different platforms. So, and I get back to cutting costs, but putting your costs and your finances into a studio that can give you better reach, better visibility.
Right.
On that, let's talk a little about capabilities and visibility. I'm just going to turn it over to you, full screen, and let you play around in the virtual sandbox.
That sounds
good.
good.
And turn it over to you.
Sweet. So, the way I like to think about video calls is very much in the same way, or the experience of a video call should mimic the in-person experience. And the in-person experience looks like this. You say, hey, Doug, you want to come into the office tomorrow? I'd love to have you in and have a meeting, right? You show up, you meet whoever the receptionist is, and you sit down on a nice, comfortable couch waiting for me to come out of the boardroom, of the conference room, and shake your hand, right? So I start all my calls off in a lobby. What this does is it allows my participants to know that they are in the correct place. They've been admitted into the video call. They're seeing my branding. I'm able to play a jingle here if I wanted some sound in the background. I could have marketing messages here, maybe promotions that I have going on. And then as soon as I'm able to confirm that their technology is working, i.e. Their audio, I'll say, hey, Doug, can you hear me? And you'll say, yeah, Garren, hey, what's up? And then I can say, what's up? Thanks so much for coming into the office today, right? I come out, shake the hand, just like I would in person. We can have a quick conversation on, the purpose of this meeting and, why we're here ultimately. And then typically you get into some type of a presentation, in which case I'll move down here and I'll be able to share my PowerPoint presentation that's purpose-built for this type of environment that I have created. And then I can go through my presentation. And I can say, businesses used to rely heavily on in-person events, conferences, and expos to build relationships. But really, more importantly, it's about a pipeline, right? It's about revenue, the bottom line. And the way we do business has fundamentally changed across the globe. And now we're all in these Zoom meetings that are personal, exhausting, and ultimately not as fruitful as their in-person counterparts. But on the flip side of that equation, we've all seen the benefits of working from home and enjoy those things. But we've also found it's difficult to maintain a professional appearance that adequately displays your capabilities. And that shouldn't be a surprise. That space that you're in was made for rest and relaxation, not for working from home. So I can also pop in. I can turn off different creative assets if I wanted to step over here and be able to, really talk about things on the screen and be very specific about the communication that I'm trying to make and make a point, right? And be part of the content. I can also share product. So physical things here on my desk, if I was going to be demonstrating how to use this remote control or this presentation clicker, or if I wanted to do a quick demo or show a video on my cell phone, I could pull that up and then I can just quickly, easily switch back over, kick my lower thirds back on, and we're back onto the conversation. And we've been able to move through multiple various scenes of communication styles, whether that's physical demonstrations, virtual demonstrations, presentations, or conversational.
I love it. And there was a lot of interaction there. And it's one thing to talk about it, one thing to be about it and visually appealing. Everything in there was highly interactive. There's so much more with camera angles, split screens, bringing it down the green screen, off the green. Obviously, I'm using a green screen right now. This is one of my favorite things. Yeah. I'm glad you did that because I was going to allude to that. What Garren does is on his LinkedIn profile. You got to follow this guy on LinkedIn. We'll have all the connections and contact information as well. But he has weekly or daily shows on LinkedIn. But he has this one where he pulls the green screen down and brings it back up. That's it. There are benefits to green screens. It helps with the content. Sometimes you need it. Sometimes you don't. You would agree with me. It all depends on the message you're trying to get across. But the flexibility with a green screen allows you to do a lot of creative stuff that you can't do.
It's the new office door.
I mean, you can do a little bit better with what you got with a Deskrig instead of just doing a hi and giving me a canned message that doesn't mean anything.
100%. I mean, really, it is the new office door. That's the way we talk about it all the time. When you work from home, your green screen is that new office door. To close the door, make sure you're immersed in your brand compliance and your branding, and immersed in that, fully decked out, brand kit, right? Like you want to be able, like when somebody looks at you on screen, they need to know who you work for, and they need to be reminded 1,000 times, right? You always want this top of the mind awareness, and every pixel on your screen should be planned to be used for a specific purpose.
You got to keep it 100 with all the visuals, right? You got to bring it in.
You absolutely do. 100%.
I had to put that prop in there. Now you touched on a little bit about content, and I want to change gears a little bit. And let's talk a little bit about LinkedIn and what you and the other Garren do quite a bit. They've got a content calendar on their LinkedIn profile, on their header. If you go over to Garren's LinkedIn profile, you'll read that he helps businesses implement video to generate more business. I'm looking over at the other screen, but he's got shows, whether they're tips or they're interviews, like the 1 minute up, office toys, what keeps you awake. Let's talk a little bit about the content generation that you're doing.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm really having a lot of fun with content creation right now. It is, now that we've figured out our system, it makes things so much easier. And really what that's all about, and I'll use Deskrig to kind of show this off, but the content schedule was kind of spurred from this idea after creating content for a couple months and realizing that, a lot of the content that creators are making are one-off pieces. They're not cumulative into a body of work. And if I'm going to be spending my time on something, I want it to end in something, right? I want it to be a body of work that I can look back on as an album, as opposed to a collection of singles, right? And that's why music artists do the same thing, right? They produce albums. And so that's what I thought about when I went back to the drawing board after a few months of trying video marketing and content creations. I said, network television had it right, actually. Right? They have brand assets. So Discovery Channel has, whatever their shows are, right? All those are different brand assets. And what's nice about it and why that system works is because you give the consumer an expectation they can always, you give them something to expect, that they already know what they're getting. So when they see that they have that brand recognition, 1 minute, one up, I know I'm going to get Garren preaching from the pulpit about some motivational speech, right? And it's designed, strategized to be on Mondays, right? That is my ability to maybe one day go viral with one of these messages of positivity, which would build my audience. Now, in a marketing funnel, you've got, attract, convert, and delight. However you want to mix that up. Everybody's got their own flavor of that same thing, but you attract customers, you convert them, and then you make them happy. And that's the way we've constructed our content calendars, is that through the week, it follows that same structure. So in the beginning of the week, we're trying to attract people to be following us. Then we're trying to convert them through value-added content like Tactical Tuesdays, which are tutorials, free value, office toys, also product reviews, free value. Thursday, I do Entrepreneur's Journal, which is anecdotal, stories and messages around my journey as an entrepreneur, a founder. And, it's very similar to 1 minute, one up, but it's much more focused on me as an individual and not kind of like, broad platitudes. So that's really designed to get people to know me, to trust me, to understand where I sit and the challenges that I go through. And then Friday, we do What Keeps You Awake, which is really all about delighting our customers. We bring our customers on. We're able to show off what we created for them because they show up on their Deskrig, and then also they get to talk about their business. So it's a win-win for both sides. But the content calendar has been really an amazing addition that I believe vastly differentiates Deskrig and what we're doing and our model versus all of the other content creators who are still doing one-off pieces. And when I'm scrolling through the feed, I see somebody's video and I know what they do because maybe I followed them for a while, but that category of video that they're about to show me, it's all clickbait. right? So we're creating a television experience, an experience that hopefully delights our customers over time and gives them a body of work that they can always go back to and watch all the episodes of Tactical Tuesday. And it's all congruent. And I think that that's something that customers like to see. They're used to seeing episodal content, and we want to give that to them.
I love that. Yeah, the episode content, but you're positioning everything because, and as we've talked, our viewers can probably tell from the conversation, the man goes deep about video and presentations. But if you tune into a show that's on Monday, Office Toys, you're going to learn about tips and techniques, how to get a capture card for your camera, this, that, and the third, whatever. But it's insightful information. But I like the episodal TV with different topics. I may not care about Office Toys, but I really want to hear about, the 1 minute up. I just want 1 minute. That's all. But you're giving people, it's like a network. You tune in. You're not going to necessarily hone in on one show, but there might be that show. But the key is also it's replays. It's on LinkedIn. So if you can't catch it live and you've got live programming, you can always go back and watch the replays.
100%. You hit the nail on the head.
And one thing I like about that format that you were sharing with us, especially on LinkedIn, is you've got different shows for different days, different times. But I may like this show, but I may not be as intrigued about another thing. But being able to repurpose that content, I think that's a genius place. Like you said, a TV network, you might not like every show, but it's giving you subject matter expertise for your audience. You're casting a wide net, but it's still very audience centric.
Yeah, I mean, we really took a look at all of our customers and what each one of them wanted. The one thing that was the same is that each one of them needed help in a different area. Some of our customers need help with software implementation. Some people need help with creative. Some people need help with the hardware, what to pick, how to install it. And so when we went to create this content calendar, we tried to create, content that would solve our marketing and sales, but also would speak to specific customers based upon the personas that we've created for them over the experience of starting this business and seeing the folks that we do attract to us and how they all have different, very specific needs. And it's kind of funny because I have people who will say, oh man, 1 minute, 1 up. I look forward to that every single week. And I have other people who will say, oh, I love Office Toys. Every week, I love seeing what toy you're going to bring up and what you're going to say about it and how it might be able to provide value to me in my life. And so every one of these different series resonates with somebody different. And that's another reason that we did the episodal show style content, was because it sets an expectation. You know what you're going to get. It will always speak to that same audience member so they can always come back and come back and come back. And it gives them a reason on Wednesday or Monday or whatever day of the week you like my content to come back to my page and find it. If you didn't, everybody's chasing the algorithm, right? Why chase the algorithm? Why not give people what they want and then set an expectation of when they can get it? So, hey, you guys all want to know about my expertise in hardware? Right? Do I have a wealth of knowledge in hardware that I can share? Come back every Wednesday. If I don't show up on your feed, I'm doing a video Wednesday. So just come to my page. Right?
It positions you as subject matter expertise.
Correct.
And it for targeted different audiences. Mm-hmm. In other words, you're casting a wide net, but it's very sniper centric. I don't know how else to say it.
Yes.
And at different times you want to engage with people for different time frames. And I love the part about video is if I don't watch your show live, I can always come back and see it later. And with the content calendar, man, that's something special with engaging your clients.
And one other point I'd like to make about that is really about metrics. It's very difficult to look at, say, 30 one-off videos and make deductions about what the next video should be about, right? With our style, we can track how is my 1 minute, 1 up. I can look at 1 minute, 1 up week over week. I can see the engagement that I'm getting on that same kind of thread of video, that same style of video. And then we can make adjustments. If a show isn't performing to the level we want it to perform to, we axe it, right? Just like a network TV does. It's like, oh, we're going to cancel this show. We're going to start a new one in this time slot. That's another reason we like this style, because it allows us to make more informed decisions about the next piece of content we're going to create, which
what works
always has a goal.
Yeah, what works, what doesn't work, and where do you want to go from it? From video sales calls, just kind of like rapid fire, what do you see where we are, where we're headed to?
I see that the tools that Deskrig are using right now, while innovative, are not going to be innovative long. I think that as soon as people start experiencing for themselves the benefits of having a purpose-built desk rig, and I use that like clinics versus tissue paper. A desk rig is just a desk. But as soon as people start to see those benefits, there will be a point in time where it will be the expectation and not the outlier. So really what I see coming forward is that you only have so much time left to be a standout in this space.
I love what you said there. It's not going to be the norm, but we all got to one up it and improve. We got to stand out amongst the crowd, but have those presentations with meaningful insight and information visually. Any final parting shots that you would like to add for our audience today?
For anybody who's out there watching who is hunched over a laptop every day of your life, I want to tell you that there's another way, and that's really what I want to leave you with, is that you don't have to hunch over that laptop. You don't have to struggle to communicate virtually or present with the same bravado that you're used to showing up with in person. There are solutions that are available that can bring you to every video call, every live interview, looking like the most professional person in the room. And who doesn't want to come to every call with that confidence, right? So if you're out there hunched over a laptop, struggling to make your camera look good, feeling unconfident about your virtual communication, your virtual presence, there is another way. And we would love to be that organization that helps you get to the next level.
Well, you're trend setting that. And I encourage our audience out there, if you don't know about Deskrig, check out what Garren's doing over there. Up your level of production. That's where we're headed. Garren, I want to thank you again, coming online virtually and giving us a tour of Deskrig, but more importantly, maybe having those insightful conversations, whether it's content, video marketing, or virtual presentations. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure, Doug. Thank you for having me on today.
And there it is, Garren Parkins. I definitely want you to check out his company, Deskrig, and all the great things he's doing in virtual selling with the key component of video presentations. And that content marketing with video, it's also very important. Garren, thanks again.
Doug, we'll see you the next time.
And thanks for watching. And thanks for keeping it 100, watching this video until its completion. Now, as I said before, I've got a special announcement. Over this calendar year of 2021, I created a monthly show on the Sales Experts channel, and we've done 12 episodes. And I want to share with you in a unique playlist where you can watch all the content. That link and information is below this video. We talked about a lot of content when it came to leveraging video for better sales conversations, whether it's production, sales acumen, or leveraging video, whether it's your video studio setup, green screen effects, visual elements, personalized video messaging, leveraging video in post-sales conversations. Plus, we had a lot of dynamic guests like Victor Antonio, James Meir, Meredith Elliott Powell, Garren Bolaney, just to name a few. We really hit home on a monthly show, and I encourage you to go back through the calendar year and watch the previous episodes. And one last time, breaking it down in layman's terms, keeping it 100, talking video for better sales conversations. Thank you for social watching.